Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we are talking about the one and only Kanye West. The first of 3 installments of Kanye's new documentary series on Netflix called Jeen-yuhs is out now. Now, just a quick note on spoilers before we get started. There are a few spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the documentary, go and watch it first and then come back and watch this video. Now, having watched the documentary, I think it's been put together in a pretty genius way, if you ask me. Now, this first installment is filmed by a guy called Coodie, who follows Kanye from the period of around 1998 to 2004, when the Chicago hip-hop scene was really popping off. And it follows Kanye from a period where he was relatively unknown in this space, all the way to when he signed his first major record label deal with roc-a-fella Records. And in a very similar way to the Beatles Get Back series on Disney+, there's very little in the way of storytelling or narration in this film. It's very much a fly-on-the-wall type video. So you really feel like you're in the room with Kanye when he's having his conversations, making his music. And it feels like such a privilege to see Kanye at such an early stage in his career going about his business. However, due to the lack of storytelling and narration and sharp editing, if you're not a Kanye superfan, you may find this documentary to be a little bit bloated and you may not want to sit through all 3 episodes. So instead of doing the usual reaction review video, I'm keen to talk about what we can all learn from Kanye from this first installment. What techniques did Kanye put in place to enable him to reach the success levels that he did? And if you're not a Kanye superfan, but you are a music fan, make sure to watch to the end. There are some tips in here that I think apply to all musicians and you don't want to miss them. So the film documents Kanye's rise through Chicago's hip-hop circuit. Kanye developed a reputation as a master beat maker and master producer, making beats for some big-name artists like DMX in that scene. But Kanye's aspirations didn't end there. Kanye wanted to be a solo artist, a rapper in his own right, not just a producer for other artists. So much so that he moved to New York in the hope of securing a record deal for himself at roc-a-fella Records. But as we see in the film, the meeting doesn't really go as planned. Kanye presents his music to the people at roc-a-fella, and to his surprise, they're not really that animated and not really that taken by his music. Now, this is one of the first times that we see Kanye looking very vulnerable and not really completely sure of himself, something we don't see from him very often these days. But he wouldn't take no for an answer, and he used that experience to work even harder. Now, there are moments in this documentary where we really start to see Kanye's work ethic and his appreciation for work ethic too. Now, in Kanye's kind of classic rant style, good to know that these aren't a recent development. They've always been a thing. He talks about how one of his producer friends, Just Blaze, makes 3 beats a day. He even goes on to say that some of his friends in the industry were mad at him because Kanye was unwilling to give his beats away for free. He then goes on to talk about how some of his friends felt like the world owed them something because they were born into difficult circumstances. But you could see that Kanye wanted it so badly, he had such big plans and a big vision for himself that he was willing to do whatever it took to get there. So Kanye initially gets rejected from roc-a-fella Records. They just don't think that Kanye, the beat maker, will sell records as an artist. But that wasn't the only hurdle that Kanye came across, and I think the film does a really good job at demonstrating some of the hurdles and setbacks that artists no doubt get wrapped up in as they're rising to fame. When Kanye returns to Chicago, for example, he switches on the car and he's listening to his radio, and to his surprise, there's a diss record that's been made about him by Doug Infinite because of an interview that he did with XXL magazine. Now, Doug was one of the main people that kind of taught Kanye how to make beats, yet in the interview there was no mention of Doug. Turns out that Kanye did mention him, but it was cut from the final interview. Now, Kanye reconciled very quickly with Doug, and it was clear that these forks in the road weren't going to hold him back. In fact, they made him stronger. Sorry, I just couldn't resist. And I think it was down to Kanye's perseverance and not taking no for an answer that eventually led to his big break and getting signed by roc-a-fella Records. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, what was really striking to see in the documentary was that everybody in the room seemed to be backing Kanye. Whether it was Young Guru, the producer, Just Blaze, Mo D, everybody. Hell, even the videographer, Coodie, put his stand-up career on pause to go and film Kanye. That's how much he believed in him. But the person for me that really steals the show, and the person that I think Kanye clearly has the biggest bond with, is his mother, Donda. Donda is clearly Kanye's kind of biggest fan and biggest supporter and his foundation. And I think that a lot of the confidence and belief that Kanye's had in himself can be attributed directly to the confidence that Donda, his mother, actually had in him. One of the best quotes in the film that speaks volumes is when she looks at Kanye and says, "A giant looks in the mirror and sees nothing." Now, if there was ever a moment that would demonstrate how important it was for Kanye to have Donda in his life at that time, it's when Kanye first met Jay-Z. Now, prior to meeting Jay-Z for the first time, there are parts of the documentary in which Kanye talks about Jay-Z as this kind of otherworldly, iconic figure, someone that Kanye really respects and almost worships. And it's quite clear to see that although Kanye has this kind of quiet self-confidence and belief in the film, he also has a massive amount of respect and humility for where he is at that moment in time. And I think a lot of that grounding probably came from his mother Donda. There's even a clip in the film where she says something along the lines of, "You can float in the sky and be on the ground at the same time." And it just goes to show the importance of surrounding yourself with people like this. People that are going to build you up and support you and give you that confidence and self-belief. If you don't have those people, you need to go and find them. Surround yourself with energy givers rather than energy takers. So I guess in conclusion, I thought the documentary was worth the watch. There are some kind of key life lessons in there, tidbits that I really got out of it and found useful. But I'd be interested to know what you guys thought. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought of the documentary if you've watched it and what you got out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this and for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.